Welcome to this news report. You can find more in-depth stuff like this over at PalsFundamentals on YouTube and also PalsFundamentals.com.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out.
So today we're going to run through some key things happening in the Faroe Islands. We're using various sources, and you'll find those all linked below.
Right. We've got quite a bit to cover. There's a major drug case, new rules for seabirds, the National Treasury's finances.
Also, Nordic Cooperation discussions and the latest job numbers. And we'll wrap up with the weather forecast.
Okay, so let's kick off with that drug case. It stems from last autumn, right?
Yeah, 6 Danish men accused of smuggling quite a lot into the Faroes.
It's 18 kilograms of hashish and 800 grams of hash oil. And the accusation is they plan to sell it here.
And that hash oil, I read somewhere it's like 90% THC. That seems incredibly high.
It is, yeah, extremely potent compared to, the usual average of maybe 12% in other cannabis products. It's a huge difference.
Wow. So how did this allegedly happen?
Well, the reports say one of the accused came in on a boat, the Emily, from Denmark, docked at Sander.
Okay.
Then 2 others supposedly bury the hashish up in the outfield above the road to Kirkjuber.
And they were caught right there.
Apparently, yes, apprehended at that location.
So things didn't quite go to plan for them? Is there more to it? Money involved?
Yes, exactly. They're also accused of trying to launder 1.3 million Danish krone.
1.3 million? How did that come to light?
Well, 2 of the men were arrested back in October last year on the Norona ferry.
Trying to leave.
Seems like it. They were heading to Denmark, and customs found the cash hidden in their car, in, hidden compartments.
And police think it's dirty money.
They believe it originated from illegal activities, yes.
Where does the case stand now? Have they entered pleas?
2 of the 6 have pleaded partially guilty. The other 4 maintain they're innocent.
So that sounds like it's still got a way to go through the courts.
Definitely looks that way.
Okay, let's shift gears. Environmental news. Something about protecting seabirds.
That's right. There's a new decree out, number 52. It came into effect April 8th this year. It's all about navigation near land, where birds live.
And the aim is?
Basically, to protect all seabirds around the Faroes from unnecessary disturbance. It's a broadening of the rules.
Right, because before it was mainly Ramsar sites, wasn't it? Those specific wetland areas.
Exactly. Now, these considerations apply to really any coastal area with bird populations. The core idea is simple. Boats and ships need to be considerate of seabirds all year round.
Makes sense. Are there, specific times or rules?
Yes, stricter rules apply during the main breeding season, which is April 15th to August 15th.
Okay, what kind of rules?
During that period, there's a maximum speed limit, 8 nautical miles when navigating under land in specific zones.
And people can find maps of these zones?
Yeah, the maps are included right in the decree document itself. It helps vessels know exactly where these speed limits apply.
Good. So it mainly focuses on breeding sites. What about where they eat?
It does focus primarily on breeding sites, yeah. And to some extent, feeding grounds are considered, but mainly those within 500 meters of the coastline.
Only 500 meters.
Well, the thing is, our knowledge about their feeding habits further offshore is still, a bit limited.
I see. So is anything being done about that?
Yes, the Environment Agency, for Vestoven, they're planning discussions on how to potentially protect those broader feeding areas better in the future.
Okay, good to know it's on the agenda. Right, let's move on to the money side of things. The National Treasury, what's the latest financial picture?
Landsbankin reports that at the end of 2024, the average interest rate on the National Treasury's bond debt was sitting at 2.2%.
2.2%. How does that compare historically?
Well, it had dropped quite a lot since 2011. But since 2022, it's been climbing back up again, mostly because central banks have been raising their interest rates.
And we expect that climb to continue.
Looks like it, yes.
Yeah.
The average rate is predicted to go up again in 2025. There's a specific reason for that.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
There's one last loan with a really, really low interest rate that needs to be refinanced this year. In June, actually.
How big is that loan?
It's 1.6 billion DKK. And its coupon rate is just 0.125%.
Wow, 0.125. That's incredibly low.
It really is. So when that gets refinanced in June, the new loan will almost certainly have a significantly higher interest rate, reflecting current market conditions. That'll push the average up.
Right, that makes sense. Has there been other refinancing activity recently?
Yes, there has. Back in June 2024, a 1.1 billion DKK loan was paid off and refinanced. The new one was a 5-year loan with an effective rate of 3.258%.
Okay.
And then the government also took out a new 15-year loan last July for 900 million DKK. They added another 350 million to that in January this year.
So that's 1.25 billion DKK in total from that loan.
Correct. And that money, the 1.25 billion, is basically being held short-term right now. It's earmarked to help repay that big 1.6 billion loan coming due in June.
So they're planning ahead for that repayment. Will they need to borrow more?
Yes, more borrowing is expected in May. They still need to cover the remaining amount of that June loan, which is about 395 million DKK.
Okay.
Plus, they need funds to cover budget deficits from 2023 and 2024, and also to keep liquidity at the required level.
Which is?
The statutory minimum liquidity is 15% of GDP.
Got it. So after all that, what's the overall debt situation, the net debt?
At the end of 2024, the net debt of the National Treasury was reported at 200 million DKK.
Okay. And how does that break down?
Well, the market value of the bond debt itself was 5 billion DKK.
Right.
But the Treasury also held liquid assets worth 4.8 billion DKK at that time.
So the difference is the 200 million net debt.
Precisely. And it's important to remember, these figures are just for the National Treasury's direct debt, the interest-bearing stuff managed by Landsbankin.
Right. It doesn't include debts held by, say, municipalities or the tunnel companies.
Exactly. That's separate.
What about returns? Are the Treasury's assets generating income?
Yes. In 2024, the return on those liquid assets was 283 million DKK.
That sounds pretty good.
Over the longer term, since 2017, the average annual return has been about 2.4%, which works out to around 82 million DKK per year.
And you mentioned that liquidity requirement, 15% of GDP. What does that translate to in krone?
For 2024, it was 3.7 billion DKK. For 2025, it's estimated at 3.975 billion DKK.
Okay, thanks for that financial overview. Now let's turn to the Nordic region. There's talk about the Faroe Islands' role in Nordic cooperation.
Yes, some interesting developments there. Karen Elleman, who's the Secretary General of the Nordic Council, she's come out saying she believes Greenland and the Faroe Islands should have the right to act as independent countries within the Nordic Council of Ministers.
That's quite a statement from her position. What's the reaction from Denmark?
Well, the Danish Minister for Nordic Cooperation, Morten Dahlen, he's said the Danish government actually supports changing the Helsinki Agreement
To allow
full membership for the Faroe Islands, Greenland, and also Åland.
full membership. So are things actually moving forward on this?
There's been a decision by the Nordic governments just recently, earlier this month, to conduct a legal review.
A legal review to look for potential problems.
Essentially, yes. To examine any potential issues that might arise if these territories were granted full membership status.
Okay. How are Faroe's politicians viewing this as their support?
Høgni Hoydal, who's a member of the Nordic Council himself, is strongly pushing for full Faroes membership in all Nordic cooperation bodies.
Right.
He also pointed out that the last formal application the Faroes made for full membership back in 2016 still hasn't actually received an official answer.
6 years and no answer. Seems like a long-term goal then. But there isn't universal agreement within the Faroes on the best approach, is there? Particularly regarding Denmark.
No, they're different perspectives.
Oh.
Anna Falkenberg, she's an MP for the Union Party. Sambandsflokkeren.
Mm-hmm.
She's argued against getting rid of the Faroes and Greenlandic seats in the Danish parliament, the Folketing.
Why that?
Her point is that as long as laws passed in Copenhagen still affect the Faroe Islands, it's vital to have that direct influence there. She's been critical of others, like Sjurður Skal from the Social Democrats, who support ending those seats.
So it highlights that ongoing tension, or maybe just the complexity, of balancing the relationship with Denmark alongside aspirations for greater Nordic integration.
Exactly. It's a complex balancing act.
Okay. Let's look at the job market now. What are the latest employment statistics telling us?
Statistics Faroe Islands, Hagstofan, released figures from March 2025. They showed 29,834 people employed here.
And how does that compare to last year?
It's an increase of 1.7% compared to March 2024. That's about 498 more people employed.
So still growing, but maybe not as fast as before.
That seems to be the case. Hagstofan notes the growth rate is a bit lower than in recent previous years.
Any reason given for that?
Partly, they suggest, is because the number of employees who don't have a registered address here hasn't increased as much lately.
I see. And the breakdown between men and women in that growth?
Of the 498 increase, 304 were women and 194 were men. Oh, and these stats, just so you know, cover everyone age 13 and up who receives a taxable income.
Right. Where did most of this job growth happen? Public sector, private sector?
Interestingly, the vast majority, 80% of the growth between March 24 and March 25, was in the public sector.
80%. Wow.
Yeah, and within that public sector growth, women made up a large majority, 341 of the increase. Overall, there are 400 more people working in the public sector now, whether that's public institutions or public limited companies.
That's a significant shift towards public employment growth. What's the overall split now?
As of March, 56% of all employees work for private employers. But that splits quite differently by gender.
How so?
About 74% of men work privately, compared to only about 37% of women. The other 44% of employees were in the public sector.
And presumably more women there.
Yes, women make up about 62.6% of public sector employees.
Okay, clear differences there. Just before we get to the weather, there was a quick note about Paul Watson, the environmental activist.
Yes, just briefly. Reports say he's gearing up to, in his words, defend threatened whales in the North Atlantic this summer.
Okay. Are the Faroe Islands mentioned in his plans?
Actually, no. Not in the plans released so far. His flagship, the John Paul de Joria, is heading to Ireland, due to arrive around May 9th.
So maybe focusing elsewhere this year? What about Iceland? Wasn't that a possibility?
He had considered Iceland, yes, but the main whaling company there, Sjóvárður, has announced they won't be hunting this summer.
Ah, okay.
There is another Icelandic company, Tjaltangi, that does have a permit to hunt minke whales up to 217 this year, but it's currently unknown what their actual plans are for the summer season.
So Watson might still end up near Iceland, depending on what Tjaltangi does. But for now, Faroes aren't explicitly mentioned.
Seems that way, based on what's public. He did state, apparently, that he intends to stop whaling before he dies. He's 74 now.
Right. Okay, thanks for that update. Let's wrap up with the weather forecast. What can we expect?
All right, this forecast was issued Wednesday, April 23rd, around 10.15 UTC. There's a high-pressure system, about 10 and 30 hectopascals, building up east of Iceland.
Okay, high pressure usually means...
Generally calmer conditions. It's expected to bring light winds to the Faroes, and the air should become a bit milder and drier, coming from the southeast or south as we head into and through the weekend.
Sounds like a potentially nice change. Let's go day by day, starting with today, Wednesday.
Okay, for the rest of Wednesday, expecting a light to fresh breeze from the east, 3 to 8 meters per second, maybe gusts up to 10 meters at times. Mostly overcast with some showers, especially up north.
Showers clearing later.
Yeah, they should become less frequent this afternoon.
Oh.
Winds also decreasing to just a light breeze, less than 5 meters. Then tonight, the wind shifts to the southeast. Variable cloud, but dry. Temps between 5 and 9 degrees Celsius.
All right. And for Thursday?
Thursday looks like a light to fresh southeast breeze again, 3 to 8 meters, cloudy and dry to start, but then becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon, maybe some sunny spells.
Sunny spells sound good.
Yeah. But then in the evening, the wind picks up again, fresh breeze to fresh wind, 5 to 10 meters. Skies should be clear or partly cloudy, though, and staying dry. Temps still around 5 to 9 degrees.
Okay, a bit breezy in the evening. What about Friday?
Friday, expect that fresh breeze to fresh wind from the southeast to continue, 5 to 10 meters, variable cloud cover, but mostly dry during the day. But late Friday evening and into Saturday night, looks like it'll become overcast with rain moving in. Temperatures creeping up slightly, 6 to 9 degrees Celsius.
Oh, rain for the start of the weekend then. How does Saturday look overall?
Saturday starts with that fresh southeast wind, 5 to 10 meters, and overcast, rainy conditions.
So a wet morning.
Looks like it. Then in the afternoon, the wind should ease a bit, becoming a light to fresh breeze from the south, 3 to 8 meters. It should also become cloudy but dry later in the day.
Okay, maybe drying up later Saturday. Any changes overnight?
Yes. Sunday night, the wind is forecast to shift back to easterly or southeasterly and increase again to a fresh breeze or fresh wind, 5 to 10 meters. Temperature Saturday between 7 and 10 degrees.
Right, and on to Sunday.
Sunday starts breezy again, fresh wind from the south, 5 to 10 meters, and overcast with rain.
More rain. Does it improve during the day?
The wind should decrease during the day to a light or fresh breeze, 3 to 8 meters, and the rain might become more showery later on rather than persistent rain.
Okay, and into next week.
Monday night, the wind is expected to veer, coming from the west or northwest, and decreasing further to just a light breeze, less than 5 meters. Still looking overcast with showers, though. Temperature Sunday ranging from 8 up to 11 degrees.
Getting milder, but still unsettled. And finally, the outlook for Monday itself.
Monday currently looks like a light breeze from variable directions less than 5 meters. Should be cloudy or maybe partly cloudy, but crucially, dry conditions are forecast for Monday daytime. Temps between 6 and 11 degrees.
Okay, so a bit of everything over the next few days. Thanks for that detailed breakdown.
You're welcome. Always subject to change, of course.
Of course. Right, that wraps up this news report. Just a reminder, check out Pals Fundamentals on YouTube and palsfundamentals.com for more content like this.
And all the sources we talked about today are linked right there in the description if you want to dig deeper.
Thanks for tuning in.